Hey friends, Randy Flickinger here again with another story that I wanted to share with you about the Christian faith. Have you ever had a friend or someone, even if you didn't know them at all, do something, say something that offends you, that frustrates you? They could even be a driver who cuts you off, or while you're waiting in line for traffic, they go around everybody and then want everybody to allow them to horn in. Frustrating stuff. But have you ever had one of those situations and you feel like, you know what, I'm just going to let them have a piece of my mind. I'm going to let them know how I feel about this. And then you do it and it backfires. And you realize, oh my gosh, I should have never said anything to my friend about this. It wasn't that big of a deal. And now I've hurt their feelings. They're offended. They may not even be my friend. I should have never got on this person for doing what they did or saying what they did. You know, sometimes you realize as you get older, you recognize it's not always smart to say the first thing that comes to mind. You know, if you think about it, we can damage a lot of relationships with our friends, with our relationships, whether it be your spouse, a coworker, a neighbor. You know, just a few words out of anger, a few words that haven't been thought through carefully can end up biting us in the tail and can completely destroy relationships. Not a good thing, not what God wants, not at all. You know, and the number of times that I know people who say, you know what, I'm going to give so-and-so a piece of my mind. I'm going to set them straight. Most of the time, it's not how it happens. You come across looking like the Karen or whatever you want to joke about, but the bottom line is you look like the grumpy person. You end up looking bad. And so what I've learned at the vast age of almost 63 years old is sometimes I ask myself, in fact, most of the time I ask myself, what am I hoping to gain by saying this, by doing this, by any kind of action? Stop and ask first. What am I hoping to gain? Because if we would do that, I think most of the time we'd recognize if we're thinking that our friend's going to go, oh my gosh, you were so right, I was such a moron, that's not going to happen. In fact, it's going to be just the opposite. They're going to say, you know, why are you being so sensitive? Why are you being so stupid about this? We end up causing the vast majority of our relationship problems because we don't stop and ask ourselves, what am I hoping to gain? Now, there are times, yes, we need to hold our friends, our family, our spouse, whatever the case may be, accountable. But you need to handle it in the correct manner, in the correct way. There's so many sayings out there of how to prevent this damage to our relationships. What you store up and soak up eventually shows up. In other words, what you're holding in your heart is eventually going to come out. And the Bible's going to tell us that here in the verse I read to you in a minute. Our words and actions come from the heart. We just said that. You don't have to say everything you think. Think about that for a second. The number of times that something clips through our head and we need to just say nothing. You're so far ahead, way ahead, many, many times. But we don't do it. We don't ask ourselves, what am I hoping to gain? And finally, everyone you see today, are they a construction opportunity or a demolition site? Because your words, your actions will determine that, will determine how their day goes. And it would be so much easier to be praising them or forgiving them and not trying to hammer them. You know, Matthew 12, verses 34 through 37, listen to what Jesus told his disciples and told those Pharisees. He says, you brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in himself, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in him. But I tell you that everyone will have to give account on the day of judgment for the many empty words they have spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. Wow, that's powerful stuff. Think through what you're going to say. What are you honestly, truly hoping to gain? Will it work that way? Because I'm going to tell you the vast majority of the times that answer is no. And the reason we want to say it is what Jesus just said. We store up that frustration, that anger, that hatred, that whatever you want to call it in our heart. And then they do something and we just can't take it. I've got to let them have it. And the truth of the matter is, it's our heart that's out of place. Their actions may be wrong. They may hurt us, they may offend us, and there's nothing wrong with pointing that out. But you have to do it in a way that you don't destroy those around you, the relationships that you have. It's not a good idea. Finally, Proverbs 16:23 through 24. The hearts of the wise make their mouths prudent, and their lips promote instruction. Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. You know, there was a famous saying that one of our presidents used to say, and he said, it's far better to be thought of as a fool than to open our mouth and remove all doubt. God wants us to help each other, to help instruct each other, but to do it in a manner that doesn't destroy relationships, but helps build them. If we'll stop and ask ourselves, what am I hoping to gain? We may slow down those personal attacks and in the end have much better relationships. Thanks for listening. Share this with your friends, your family, whoever needs to hear these words because they're from God. I just get to be the voice. I just get to be the mouthpiece. These are not my brilliant thoughts. This is what God guides me with and talks to me about. Share them, learn from them, and let's all take care of each other. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again.